After the terrible attack by Russian terrorists on Kiev on August the 28th, 2025, which took many lives, the question arises, how long will Muscovites continue to attack Ukraine and Kiev, and the population of Moscow will continue to live as if the war is taking place somewhere far away on some other planet, says Ukrainian Obzorevatel media outlet. It is noted that Russia continues to kill Ukraine, and Russians believe that there will be no retaliation for this. It is necessary to dispel the illusions of Muscovites that Putin's war in Ukraine will take place only on our territory. Ukrainian drones must more actively attack military facilities in Moscow and the Moscow region, radically changing the situation. Everyone there must understand that the war has finally come to them. It is necessary to make the price of war for Russia and its elites increase sharply, so that neither Rublyovka, nor Barvikha, nor Zhukovka are safe places for those who previously could only see military actions on their TV screens. They have been told for many months that the Russian Federation will win. Now they have to see for themselves that this is not the case at all. A comfortable life behind the walls of their estates is coming to an end. When Russian oligarchs and the wealthy of a smaller financial caliber knew that the war in Ukraine was somewhere far away, it was one thing. However, after Ukrainian drones began to fly to Moscow, this changed the situation for them. The reality of the war began to approach them directly. Obzorevatel says, it is noted that, not to mention that once privileged Muscovites may begin to see the light after the small explosions became a reality for them as well. The Ukrainians are thereby freeing the Russians from the propaganda delusion they have been instilled in through television screens that Moscow is reliably protected from acts of retaliation by Ukraine. The next epiphany for the Russian establishment will be that Russia is waging a war that it cannot win, and each day it continues only brings the collapse of this artificially created state closer. Gradually, but irreversibly, the war is beginning to spread to the territory of Russia, and attacks on military infrastructure in the Russian Federation itself will no longer give the Russian population the opportunity to observe the war in Ukraine from afar. The danger has begun to approach them as well, and only when the Russians, at least partially, feel the pain and suffering that they have been inflicting on peaceful Ukrainians for more than 3.5 years, will they perhaps begin to understand the evil that Putin is doing to a neighboring country that is heroically fighting for its independence. But this war is not a video game. Ukraine needs time to liberate its territories, Obzorevatel adds. Today, the war is boomeranging back to the doorsteps of Russians who never thought it could ever reach them. And the active appearance of drones over Moscow may be just the beginning of this irreversible process. Next in line are St. Petersburg, Tver, Tula, Tambov, Kaluga, Bryansk, and the rest of the European part of what is still called Russia. Next must be the arms factory in Tula, the Smolensk aviation plant, which also produces radar systems, missile systems, and other military equipment, the Votkinsky plant in Udmurtia, which produces ballistic missiles, and the main manufacturer of small arms in Russia, the Kalashnikov concern, which includes several enterprises, including the Izhevsk mechanical plant and the Zala aero company, which develops and produces drones. And there are many other similar military facilities in the Russian Federation that are interesting for Ukrainian drones, the media outlet says. In the Ryazan region, as a result of an explosion at the Russian gunpowder and shell factory Elastic, about 300 tons of gunpowder for artillery shells and 600 units of 152mm shells were lost. This was reported by Militani with reference to data from the OSINT resource Dnipro-OSINT. It is noted that the exact causes of the incident have not yet been established, and the preliminary version being considered is a violation of the technological process. As a result of the explosion in the gunpowder workshop on August the 15th, 2025, 28 people were killed and more than 150 were injured. According to Astra, the examination confirmed the death of 28 people. The remaining bodies are in the process of identification. After the detonation, a large-scale fire began, which spread to 3 other buildings, including a warehouse with shells loaded with TNT, as well as the premises of the second production workshop. The said workshop specialized in the production of 152mm artillery shells used in heavy artillery systems, howitzers, cannons, and self-propelled guns, the statement said. Co-founder and executive director of the Ukrainian Center for Security and Cooperation, Dmitry Zmylo, noted on air during the telethon that, judging by satellite images, the restoration of this Russian enterprise will take a long time. The Russian army in 2025 will use, on average, from 20,000 to 27,000 shells per day, from 300 tons of gunpowder, considering that the main shell that was produced at this plant and that the Russian army uses is 152mm caliber. It is possible to produce somewhere around 34 to 40,000 shells, depending on the type of ammunition. On average, one shell requires 7 kilograms, 600 grams of gunpowder, he said. At the same time, he noted that for Ukraine, now it is not so much the destruction of gunpowder and shells that is of interest, but rather the blocking of production that is important. That is, given the capacity of this enterprise, which is one of the main ones in the Russian Federation's ammunition production system, this will be a significant weakening of the Russian Federation. I am not saying that we will immediately feel a shortage of shells, but the downtime of this enterprise will affect the nature of the combat operations of the Russian army, which will most likely increase the Marta component, the production of FPV drones on fiber optics. Zmylo noted. According to him, the Russian Federation produces 1.3 million shells per year, which corresponds to their daily norm for using this type of weapon in Ukraine.